Hello, I'm Michael Depp, editor of TVNewsCheck, and I'm with Jack Perry, CEO of Syncbak. And this week we are talking OTT on Talking TV. Talking TV is brought to you by Making the Media, a podcast from Avid, now launching its second season. The first episode of this new season finds host Craig Wilson interviewing Alexandra Borchardt, lead author of the European Broadcasting Union's news report, which has just been released. This episode focuses on the big challenges facing Europe's public service broadcasters, challenges faced by all broadcasters, big or small, around the globe. Making the Media is available on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Anchor FM, and other podcast platforms. Welcome, Jack.
Thank you. Good to be here.
I really appreciate you being here today to talk about OTT. And we're talking about that because Syncbak is the parent company of VUit, which is a Gray television-backed, ad-supported streaming service that recently announced agreements with 8 station groups and independent stations. They include Hearst, Cox, News Press, and Gazette, among others, to carry local content. It was a significant development and I think merited a conversation about the growth of this app. So that's what we're going to talk about. And Jack, for those who aren't familiar with VUit, can you give me the elevator pitch and where viewers can expect to find it?
Sure. They can find it anywhere you would typically look for your apps. It's on Fire TV, Roku, iOS, Android, you name it, you can likely find it there. Yep. And the elevator pitch is really simple. Look, we aim to be the Netflix of live, local, and free. We think it's an underserved space. When you're thinking about coming out of binge mode or before you go into binge mode, VUit's the place we want you to spend your time.
For pretty much mostly news content, though a bit of syndicated and other programming in there as well in the mix?
So there's a tremendous amount of news content, but there's also off-net syndication. There's straight to OTT content that we syndicate. So, there's a little bit of everything in there. And we've even premiered movies on the VUit platform, which were then supported by local ad dollars.
So this is sort of the second iteration of this app. It was previously SB TV. You've already had the Gray Stations content in the channel for some time. And with these new deals, you pick up content from 71 more stations. So that has VUit with 174 out of 210 markets in the country. How much of these stations' content are you carrying? And how is it presented to the viewer? Are you talking about both a live stream and a VOD menu?
Right. So anything that passes through our platform live becomes a VOD asset if the broadcaster chooses to make it a VOD asset, but it's there. So really simple workflow. They go in and say, when this passes through, capture it, make it available to my viewers on demand immediately following the programming. So that's a good thing. So I think, we have broadcasters who clear most of their day for OTT, and we have broadcasters who clear, simply just their news content that they own. And we really, VUit is a sandbox. We've intentionally built it in such a way that our local broadcast partners can get in the sandbox and experiment with OTT. So some do lots of original programming, some do just news, and we don't tell them how to do it. We just give them the tools to do it.
So you do have some of the broadcasters who are putting custom content for these OTT channels there, not just what's going out over their air.
Exactly. In fact, there's events all the time running on the VUit platform, from high school sports to semi-pro leagues to concerts. Really, what we do is empower the local station to go out and cover their community even better than they can with just over the air. Now they have not only over the air, but they can take new and original content over the top.
So, TV station groups are largely invested in many of their own OTT channels at this point, which wasn't necessarily true just a few years ago. So why would they work with another channel like yours? What's the value in that for them from both the standpoint of audience development and monetization?
So we actually power hundreds of TV station apps and websites. We are, as a company, Syncbak takes 14 million hours of locally produced content and we ingest it in the cloud from the station. So I don't think there's anybody out there even close to bringing in that much. And so given that we also power news apps and websites, what we've said, the value proposition is very simple. Let me tell you, we're going to sign up every broadcaster who raises their hand, and the ones that don't raise their hand, we're going to keep saying, you got to get on the VUit platform. And here's why, because we will apply the same business model to powering their news apps and their websites as they would get on the VUit platform. So we don't care. We don't want to tell the broadcasters to limit their content to just being on VUit. We don't want them, nor do we think they should limit it to just being on their own websites or apps. I mean, reality is you're not telling a viewer, hey, to get my content, you got to go buy an LG television versus a Panasonic. You want to be everywhere that the viewers are. So we power it, we save them money, and then we put our ad technology to work, which gets pretty high fill rates and high CPMs.
And this is a rev share model that you're operating under. Realistically speaking, what is the revenue potential for a station or a station group out of participating in something like this?
What we've looked at, we look at it every morning, is what is one viewer worth? And today, the VUit platform, which is on our Simple Sync OTT platform, VUit viewers are spending 72.5 minutes per day watching local programming. Maybe it's the market they're in, maybe it's the market they're going to, or where they're from, or where there's news is breaking. But that's the key. The first key number is 72.5 minutes. And that's a pretty sticky OTT product to get people for that much time every day. And in that 72.5 minutes, that viewer is going to see between 60 and 80 local avails. And so our focus has been on, look, get your viewers something else to watch. We'll do the heavy lifting on the tech side and on the monetization side. So some of our broadcasters, in fact, we just, of course, wrapped up November. One of our broadcasters generated $6.41 per month per viewer. That's what they've been averaging now. So if you think about it, one of the big questions is what happens, with retrans if we're out there approaching our viewers outside of cable or satellite. Well, here's a broadcaster who went out and created new content, covered some other local programming in their market. And for every viewer that came on the platform, they generated $6.41 from that viewer per month.
72 minutes is a very long engagement period. Within that, what do you know about the viewer's behavior? Are they sticking to one linear feed by and large? Are they moving around inside of the app, the channel, into different spaces?
Yeah, it's a great question. They're arriving there for hyperlocal content, but then they're also discovering other great content that's on the platform, like the Gray television station in Anchorage, Alaska, that covers the Iditarod dog sled race, KTUU. They ended up becoming a national syndicator. So they create the content in Anchorage, they broadcast it out via OTT, and then they got 178 markets where they had viewers, where they were generating revenue. So people come there, they want to watch local. Maybe they've cut the cord, and so now they're a Netflix household. Well, you still got to get the news, and so you come out of Netflix, you land on VUit, and then you watch whatever it is that you want to watch, hyperlocal, and then you just discover more programming in there, like the Iditarod, like car racing, whatever it is that our local broadcasters are choosing to cover. That's what viewers are discovering.
Well, a resistance to hyperlocal on streaming is reaching scale and getting off the ground revenue-wise without hitting that scale. So how do you speak to that concern?
Well, if one viewer is worth $6.41 per month, and we don't care what that viewer is watching, other than it's something that's created by one of our stations, then you can get to scale pretty quickly. Look, this is scale something I know about. We have been the backbone for the Super Bowl many times. So we know how on the tech side to scale up. We hand off those live broadcasts from 208, in this case, CBS affiliates, to Hulu and Fubo and previously Sony and Apple TV and NFL. And so we know how to scale on that side. But the downside is the Super Bowl only happens once a year. And so our focus with VUit is to give broadcasters the tools to go out and cover hyperlocal, not worry about the cost, not worry about the complexity of going OTT, just worry about covering the events. And done right, you have a Super Bowl every day. And maybe you have 150 viewers watching a high school football game. Maybe have 1,000 viewers watching, the debates that are happening in your local community. Really, if we make it so inexpensive that it doesn't matter, which we do, then broadcasters can cover anything and everything they want, and that's how you get to Super Bowl Sunday every day of the year.
Aggregating your way up to it, I guess. You mentioned workflow a little bit before, and how this slices and dices newscasts into VOD content along the way. In overall, in terms of how much or how little an imposition this is on existing newsroom workflows, how does it work that way?
So because of the way I started the company and I wanted to build a technology that would be turnkey, that the broadcaster just simply had to embed it in their station, and it would automatically pull their content out, put it to the cloud, and then we deliver it right back down to the viewer in the market that they serve. So we made it turnkey from the beginning. What happened very quickly as we launched our technology was the broadcasters would go out and get OTT rights for a syndicated show, not from their network, but off-net syndication. Those broadcasters then came to us and said, all right, can you create a toggle, if you will, where when we're live with this show, you can air it, and when we don't have the rights, can you insert replacement programming? And the answer was, well, sure, we just need to build that out, and we did. And so when it comes to the workflow, we have a team, in fact, we call them the Station Success Group. And all they do is listen to the broadcasters every day for what tools they need to simplify their workflow. Because our approach is, look, we want to sign up everyone. We want every broadcaster in the US on the VUit platform, on our Simple Sync platform. And what happens then is we just listen. And when we hear something that needs to be created for one broadcaster, we likely will hear it from 60 broadcasters or 100 broadcasters, and we just build it. And that's one of the competitive advantages that we have in launching VUit is we own our own technology. We don't have to go to anyone else to say, hey, help us get our streaming done. We own it all.
And you've also got rights to some content. So if a group needs some holes filled in their linear feed, you've got your own syndicated rights or off-net or some other program that you can plug into those holes.
In fact, in 2010, we invented what we called back then stream switching. And it was a very innovative broadcaster out of Spokane, Washington, that said, whenever we don't have cleared content, we want you to switch over to our SWX channel or our sports and local weather channel. So we literally created a control panel for them to go in, that station to go in and set their lineup. So when they had the rights, we aired them. And when they didn't have the rights, we toggled over to their local digital subchannel called SWX. And that was really the beginning of stream switching and automated channel building. And, a few years later, then we built the ad technology, because clearly the best way to monetize it was to pull the old ads out, put new ones in. And so, yeah, we try to make it turnkey, and we're pretty good listeners.
As far as the viewer behavior, you and I were talking earlier about this. The viewers are still overwhelmingly gravitating to the live linear feed as opposed to the VOD menus.
They are, and I think it's incumbent on all of us to make sure that we bubble the most popular content up and the most relevant content for viewers. We're starting to do that. You'll see on our product roadmap in the coming couple of quarters as we start to personalize VUit. So the benefit of not only the viewers themselves, where we uncover programming that they'll find interesting, but we also, in doing that, we're helping advertisers follow the viewers wherever they go. If somebody starts out and they're watching a newscast out of Grand Rapids, Michigan, and they come out of that and they see that the Iditarod dog sled race is happening or is available on demand. If they're interested, they'll tune to it and they'll keep coming back. And so we're adding in cooking shows and auto, all the categories that are popular with viewers. But the difference with us is we're working with the local broadcasters to create and collect up that content to put into the platform.
I'm curious if you have any insights or thoughts as to why so many people gravitate to the live feed, even if it's not necessarily live. There's something, it seems, that they're leaving the television ecosystem, they're going into the streaming ecosystem, but they gravitate to what they see as what's happening now. And that gets echoed again by newsroom after newsroom and organization I talk to. Any thoughts as to what psychologically or otherwise is powering that?
Well, I think that's where local broadcasters really have an advantage here, because what viewers are looking for really is a companion. That channel you turn on and they spend the day with you. And I think if anyone is in a position to do that, it would be the local broadcasters. In fact, the Gray Television Group has gotten really, really innovative with the launch of their local news live channels. So there's always something live where viewers can land, and whether it's traditional binge where we're a certain season, episode, whatever it is, type of binge, or if it's just we want to turn it on and spend some time with our local broadcaster, viewers gravitate to live because they simply want a companion.
I want to ask you about discoverability. Obviously, the OTT ecosystem's very, very crowded with options across the board right now, including at this point in the local news category. How are you marketing VUit to get adequate discoverability, and what are you finding to be the most important channels for audience development?
Well, we have not spent a dime promoting VUit. Our broadcast partners are telling their viewers, hey, tune in for this. We had a broadcaster in Philadelphia on Thanksgiving Day. This is probably the 4th or 5th time they've covered it. Covered a high school rivalry football game that happens every Thanksgiving Day. And so they spend the few days leading up to that telling their viewers how to tune into that game, because it's only available on OTT. So what we're doing now is our focus is on taking a broadcaster who's great at serving their market via over the air, which of course gets to cable, gets to satellite, and helping them become great OTT broadcasters, which the real opportunity here is when a broadcaster is putting their signal over cable, over satellite, it's their 24/7 linear broadcast. You have an unlimited opportunity to bring in new content that isn't a part of your linear schedule in the OTT space. So our central focus today is how do we take that, what today is a renegade group of 50 or 60 really powerhouse broadcasters, and make it 300 or 400 powerhouse broadcasters thinking OTT first. And that's our focus. And when we get there, of course, you'll see us promoting VUit and getting viewers there. But let me just say that, look, we're a profitable tech company. We ingest 14 million hours of live programming, handed off to many of the virtual MVPDs. We keep their costs down. And when we looked at it, we thought, well, the one thing that's missing is a place, a sandbox for broadcasters to just go innovate. And that's what VUit's all about. And as we get better at it, we'll promote it more.
So UX is also an important part of this whole thing, with the customization you're talking about coming online, which I think that you're looking at next year for that, where you're soliciting some questions for people to offer personal information, and you can winnow down what they see. But for right now, you're aggregating a lot of disparate content from all over the country, newsrooms everywhere. One of your goals is to try to widen the viewership of at least some of that local content to a national audience, and some of that you say is happening with events like Iditarod, et cetera. How's the UX making all of this navigable and intuitive so that you don't just get overwhelmed by it? It's potentially easy to overwhelm the viewer with the eclecticism.
I think search and discovery is pretty much an industry-wide issue, and it needs to be solved for. I mean, how much time do we spend sitting in front of the Netflix screen and trying to figure out what we're going to watch next? It's a lot. And so what we focused on early with the VUit platform is let's get the closest channels first. let's go out 60 miles and let this viewer see all of the channels available to them within, say, 60 miles. And then the next thing we did was make search easier. So where you could either search for a specific station or a region, and then we would uncover that programming. And then beyond that, we have a team that spends every moment of every day featuring different programming and events to make sure our viewers, we're putting it in front of them as they're tuning to whatever it is they're tuning to. They're seeing the Washington Post Live channel. They're seeing the First Business AM leaderboard, so we can direct them over to that TV show. So I think that the way we are doing discovery today is we have human intervention, making sure we feature content, and then a year is a long time in the tech world, and so I don't think it'll be a year, but I think you'll see the early trappings in the first quarter of 22, where search and discovery will be solved for on the VUit platform. I guarantee it.
I'm glad you brought the Post. I'd forgotten that the Washington Post was one of the partners in there. They've been producing a lot of video for a while now. Do you see newspapers? I mean, we've been talking about broadcasters here, but do more newspapers, do you envision them coming into the fold and becoming partners in the sort of an equal footing to the broadcasters?
Well, I think that I see any content creator wanting to come to the platform as being welcome to come to the platform. And I can say that because our goal is to enable the local broadcaster to generate revenue regardless of what their viewer is watching. So in the case of a Washington Post content, a fraction of that rev share goes to the local station in that market, even though the viewer is watching something else that's not their content. I think once broadcasters learn the value of that, I think you will see them, embrace it more and really just focus on getting their viewers into the sandbox.
Well, let me ask you lastly, it's about time for the 2022 predictions, that time of year in media. So what's yours for local station groups and OT? Looking beyond your own endeavor, what do you see in the cards for local news and streaming happening generally?
Well, I think it's real simple. I think it's all viewers, all devices, all of the time. And if that's the mantra that our broadcasters start each day with and end each day, then they're going to get their content and their advertisers together in the same place. And that really is what's going to happen in a big way in 2022.
Okay, excellent. Well, Jack Perry of Syncbak and VUit, thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate it. For everyone, this is going to be our last Talking TV episode for 2021. It's been a very wild year. We've had a very eclectic range of guests and topics throughout, and we are looking forward to seeing you again in January with plenty more to talk about. So Jack, thank you so much, and happy holidays to you.
Happy holidays. Thank you.
A new episode of Talking TV is available most Fridays on TVNewsCheck.com. You can also listen and subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, and Spotify.